In this league, you got to move on or you're going to make one loss turn into two. We've had guys that bounce back and continue to work to improve, and that's what you want when you're trying to build and make a playoff run.
Sometimes you need those type of lessons moving forward to help you to continue to grow. It's important that we do not slip.
Obviously, you want to win the Super Bowl every year, and so in order to get where you want to go, you have to win your division. Our first goal when we walk in to win the AFC West.
It is caught! Touchdown! Hit in the end zone, and down he goes, a safety!
I can care less what their record shows. They're still the Denver Broncos.
Their defense is special. They have a good scheme. They have good players.
We know that we're going to get their best.
The Chiefs came up just short last week in a tough one against the Bengals. But it's a new week and a new opportunity to get back on track here today. And who better to do it against than one of our oldest rivals in the Denver Broncos. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is Field Pass, presented by StorageMart. And Mitch, tough one last week, but we've turned the page. Let's get back on track here today.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back to the Defending Kingdom podcast, the Make It, Take It, and Keep It. That is make history today. The Chiefs have a chance to make history, mainly Travis Kelce, but take the division. By the time you can put your head on a pillow tonight, the Chiefs could have the division and keep it going, the streak. A little bit of a spoiler alert on the open to the game, the squeegee here. I'm using the squeegee today. Keep the streak going. When I squeegee, it's like real streaky, but you got a chance to take it, make it, keep it.
Yep, we're going for 14 straight victories today against the Denver Broncos, which is crazy. But let's talk about the Broncos here in this one. Having a weird season so far. They're 3-9 this year, and it's truly been a tale of two sides of the football for this Broncos squad. Now, for one thing, they've actually been very competitive this season. They've played in 10 one-score games this year, and why have they been so competitive? Well, it's their defense. Their defense is legit, perhaps the best defense in all of football. It's the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL right now, allowing just 17 points per game on average. They've forced the most 3-and-outs in the NFL. It's the number 3 third down defense and the number 1 red zone defense in the NFL. They've been really good defensively all year long. What stands out about their defense to you? Why have they been so successful?
Well, first of all, Matt, it's a playoff caliber, division-winning kind of defense. And I've seen something I've not seen in 29 seasons in this league, and that is their 6 of their 9 losses, their opponent has scored less than 20 points and won the game. That's really crazy. But to me, in digging into this team this week, let me give you a tricky one, and this is why they're a problem for the Chiefs, is yards after catch. They are outstanding in not only covering, but in tackling. I know that sounds basic, but let's just take it into a metric. The Chiefs are number 1 in the league in yards after catch, and the Broncos are very similar to the Bengals. They do not allow a lot of yards after catch yards. And so that's why the Chiefs will have a challenge here today against this Bronco defense.
Yeah, it's a situation where if you just look at their record, that does not indicate the caliber of this defense. It's a playoff caliber defense, like you said. And you also mentioned this, all the games they've held the opposition under 20 points. They've done that 9 times this year, held the opposition under 20 points. In today's NFL, that's nuts. But like you said, they're 3-6 in those games. It's crazy, but not indicative of their record as a whole. Their defense is quite good. And in many ways, this defense lines up with the Chiefs' offense because the Chiefs' offense is top 5 in so many categories, and this Broncos defense is top 5 in several categories as well. I mentioned that Denver is the league's number 2 scoring defense. Well, the Chiefs are the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. They're allowing the fewest yards per game, while the Chiefs are racking up the most yards per game in the NFL. And this is the number 3 third down defense in the league. The Chiefs are the number 2 third down offense. So it's truly a best-on-best battle here today between maybe the best defense in the NFL and the league's best offense.
It's an excellent point. If you took a bar graph of Denver and where they're at with orange, and you took where the Chiefs are at offensively and you overlapped them, it would actually be similar. They would overlap and cover each other, and that's why this is a very intriguing matchup. Now, there are games within the game here in this matchup between the Chiefs offense and the Bronco defense, but this is a Bronco defense that is up for the task, and they've been that way all year.
And the area I think this game will be won is in the red zone. And sure, that's obvious. The red zone is always important, right? But it's particularly significant here in this one. When you look at the red zone defense for the Broncos, I said number 1 in the NFL. They've allowed the second fewest red zone drives in the NFL this year with only 28. And when teams do get there, they're only allowing touchdowns at a 32.1% clip. The Chiefs' offense, meanwhile, has the most red zone drives in the NFL with 53, 7 more than second place. And when they get in the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns at a 66% clip. So something has to give in the red zone here today.
Yeah, the Chiefs have dropped from 1st to 5th in red zone offense. But with the red zone defense, let me tell you how good the Bronco defense is. You mentioned 32%. The next closest team in the league in red zone defense, the Rams, at 43.2% of touchdown percentage allowed in the red zone. Not only the Broncos are good at it, they're so good they're lapping the field in it. They've only allowed 9 touchdown passes all season, and that's in 12 games. On a 3-9 team, it doesn't add up. But, man, when the Broncos get in the red zone defensively, they clamp down. That's your game within a game to me. Can the Chiefs get some red zone swag back today?
Yeah, the Chiefs have been so good in the red zone all year long. Really, that Rams game was the only one they weren't very good. I think they were like 1 of 6 in the red zone in that game. Very good red zone defense. Hopefully they get back on track here against the Broncos. Now, as good as this Denver defense has been, one area they have been vulnerable is allowing a lot of rushing yards. They're allowing 4.49 yards per rush this year. That's 20th in the NFL. Could be a good opportunity for the Chiefs' rushing attack here today. That was very good against the Bengals last week between Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon to get rolling again here in this one.
I think it's exciting to see what the Chiefs have done in the run game really since about mid-season. And it's not just, it's functional and helps the passing game. It has become imperative to be, I think, really good in the run game. And it's the tag team with Pacheco and with Jerick McKinnon. But I'll throw in Ronald Jones the second in here. He's got enough. Remember the check down throw for 22 yards against the Rams. There's enough when he comes into the game that you get another little pop and you still have a two-headed monster with a third head right behind it. But to run the game today, I think will be imperative, not just a bonus because of what you're facing and how you just laid out the Bronco defense.
Yeah, and Pacheco in particular has been very good lately. He has 60 rushing yards in 4 consecutive games. Hopefully we see that continue here in this one, and the rest of the guys are able to eat as well. I mentioned, though, this is a tale of 2 sides of the football, right? And as good as this Denver defense has been, their offense has really struggled this season. It's the number 32 scoring offense in the league. They're averaging only 13.8 points per game. They're 30th in third down conversion rate, and they have the fewest red zone drives in the NFL. And when they get there, they're scoring touchdowns at the lowest clip in the league. It's a loaded question for you, but what's gone wrong for the Broncos offense this year?
Loaded question. But let's just start with the injuries. We got to be fair here. We got to be fair. Matt, they have 26 players on injured reserve. 26. If Reisner does not play today, and we're waiting for the inactives, that will be 4 of their top 5 offensive linemen. Cortland Sutton not playing today. Their top 3 wide receivers are out. Their top running back is out. That's just a lot to take on. But still, we've seen Patrick Mahomes over his time as a starter since the beginning of 2018, and actually his career began here in the 2017 finale on this field. But he has dealt with guys missing and figuring it out, like trying to be resourceful. Russ Wilson has not. I mean, this team, it is the lowest scoring team in 23 seasons in the National Football League. You're going back to the expansion 2000 Cleveland Browns to find a team that's been worse than this team in scoring. It's really mysterious. Yeah, there's a lot of injuries, but just to be this bad, in many ways, to me, is inexplicable.
It's been very perplexing. We've been trying to figure it out all season long, and it was understandable earlier this year if they were going through maybe some growing pains, new players, new quarterback, new head coach, but they've never gotten out of that period this season. And like I said, only scoring 13.8 points per game. Now, this is a division matchup. It's going to be a battle in this one. Weird stuff can happen in division games, and we've seen flashes from this Denver offense because they are talented. They have good players. Jerry Jeudy, one of the better young receivers in the NFL. We know what Russell Wilson can do outside of maybe this season. And one player we've been watching this year is tight end Greg Dulcich, a rookie out of UCLA. He's been impressive this year.
Yeah, keep your eye on Greg Dulcich. He's got some Kelsey in him. Very talented, second-round pick out of UCLA, and can move around. They can create matchup issues with Dulcich. He can be in the slot. He can be as a split end. He can be an inline tight end, just the way the Chiefs have used Kelsey. But Dulcich is an issue today. The Chiefs have to account for him really first and foremost. That, and don't let the runners get running. It's still Latavius Murray. He's been in this league a long time. 90-yard run, remember, in 2014 against the Chiefs by the Raiders. And then Marlon Mack had 123 yards against the Chiefs back in 2019 when he was a Colt. These runners can run, and Dulcich is an issue.
Yeah, you can't get caught up in the overall numbers or stats for the Chiefs in this game. It's still a division matchup. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight. The Broncos are still fighting to show that they can be good in later seasons, right? And they're playing for pride here today. It's also a great opportunity, though, for the Chiefs defense, which we know how good they can be. They've finished games this year. They've closed games this season and gotten better every week, it seems like. There's some plays last week they probably would like to have back, but a good opportunity here today to get back on track. Just got to take care of business.
Remember last year in November, December, there were some games where the defense absolutely just crushed the opponent, just kind of took them out. We're still waiting for that game.
Yeah.
Could be this today. And I mean a 0, a 3, a 7, just smash them down. But you said something. I'm going to go back to your first inference before you came to me on this part of it, is the fact that the league, remember when the 17th game came into play at the beginning of 2021, made a concerted effort to backload the division games. This was going to be a Sunday night football game. There's two reasons the league did that. One is the obvious, to have the big key matchup trying to get playoff position. That's the obvious. The not so obvious are to keep the teams that are out of contention with an interest. So let's go back to last year, and I'm going to talk about this the next month. The fact that when Jacksonville beat the Colts and knocked them out in Week 18 with no rhyme or reason, but just the fact that it was a division opponent, your blood boils when you see the other team. That's a big reason why the NFL made games like this. This would make Denver's season. And so that's why the Chiefs have got to play their best ball or good ball today in all three phases.
And to avoid that, hopefully the pass rush looks good today for the Chiefs. And again, only 1 sack last week on Joe Burrow. They're trying to get their mojo back in this game. The pass rush has been very good at times this season. They already have more sacks this year than they had all of last season. So they had some mojo going into last week's game. Didn't get to Joe Burrow much in that one, but this is an opportunity here for the Chiefs today to get that back, because Russell Wilson has been sacked at least twice in every game this season, been sacked at least 3 times in all but 2 games this year. Hopefully Chris Jones and company can do some damage here today.
Chiefs are still tied for 6th in sacks this year in the NFL. And right now, after, what are we at? We're in 12 games into it. It's 10th most in franchise history.
Wow.
So you have a big day today. I'm talking about obliterate these guys. Take them out. And so that would mean maybe a 5 or 6 sack day. You also have to account still for Russell Wilson running the ball. I know it's his 11th season. He has the 4th most rushing yards in NFL history by a quarterback. He still has a little takeoff and run and get a first down. So rush the passer, but don't get out of your lanes. I thought in Cincinnati it was a little bit of aggression. They were wanting to sack Joe Burrow so much that many times their assignment was lost, or I jump a gap, or I get out of position, and that can lead to problems like last week where Burrow ran the ball.
Yeah, I sound like a broken record here, but it will be a battle here today. It'll be a fight. But the reality is this Broncos offense has struggled all year long. And for more on the reasons behind those struggles, I caught up with James Palmer from NFL Network earlier this week. All right, we're joined now by James Palmer from NFL Network. And James, I want to ask you about this Broncos offense, because when Russell Wilson came in, there was all this excitement and hype about what they could do this year, but just hasn't worked this season. What's gone wrong for the Broncos offense this year?
Everything. Back to you, Matt. Yeah, I mean, honestly, everything has gone wrong. It's a new system that they've catered towards Russell Wilson, with a lot of coaches on that side of the ball doing what their job is for the first time, and Russell Wilson operating this offense for the first time. And then at the same time, he's throwing it to different players each and every week. We expected him to have, 4 pretty good receivers in Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. Well, Sutton's expected to miss this game with a hamstring. 2 other 2 are on the IR, and Jerry Jeudy is going to be playing with 3 other rookie wide receivers that are this week, I'm told, trying to get their rhythm together with Russell Wilson. And they're playing behind an offensive line that is without their left tackle, and they've had other injuries on that group. And third down really has been the biggest issue. They can't stay on the field, which has kept this really, really good Broncos defense from getting a chance to rest at times and for drives to be extended. So Nathaniel Hackett really believes third down is their problem. They had a lot of third and manageables against the Baltimore Ravens this past week, but they still were 2 for 12 on third down. And that has been a big issue. Look for Russell Wilson to use his legs more frequently. Look for them to try to find their rookie tight end in Greg Dulcich, who's been a bright spot for them. There's been so few of those. He's played really well out of that tight end spot. But really, everything hasn't really clicked in any capacity when you're scoring under 14 points a game. It's been a mess. It's been difficult to watch for Broncos fans. And obviously, they're hoping their defense comes out and plays well and holds Patrick Mahomes, that they can just try any way they can, as Russell Wilson said, to get touchdowns on the board.
Yeah, I think it was fair to assume early in the season they'd go through some growing pains with, a brand new quarterback, brand new system, brand new coach, but they've never seemed to get out of that period, it seems like, this year, and just the struggles have kind of compounded on themselves. Still got to take care of business, though, if you're the Chiefs defensively. What are some keys, do you think, defensively for the Chiefs to make sure that the Broncos don't find success in this game?
I mean, you can't let Russell Wilson beat you when the play gets extended. Like, we haven't seen him this season play that backyard football that, Chiefs fans are so used to seeing Patrick Mahomes just become utterly dominant when that second play happens after the first play breaks down. That's something we saw Russell Wilson do for a decade. You haven't really seen it that much this season with this offense, but it's still something that could probably hurt you in the red zone. And it's something that they're looking to encourage in the red zone, to let him go out and create and make some plays, because they're looking for anything to start clicking. So that's one part I would look at, and that's Nick Bolton, that middle of the field, right, to where you can, and Willie Gay, he's so good sideline to sideline to make sure that he doesn't go and beat you. I just think if you get pressure on Russell Wilson, you're going to be fine. And that's Chris Jones up the middle. We know what Cincinnati was able to do containing him with their offensive line a week ago. Chris is one of the most dominant interior players in all of football, and I don't expect that to happen against this offensive line. So I think if you contain Russell Wilson, you really got to worry about Greg Dulcich, as I mentioned, and Jerry Jeudy. And then there's 3 rookie wideouts out there. I think really your focus can be on a couple of keys and winning third down once again. And I think this defense is going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for them to bounce back, I think. We've seen this defense play really well at times this season. They've closed out games at times this season. I'm sure there's some players they'd like to have back against Cincinnati, but the beauty of sports and the beauty of football is it's a whole new week this week and a new game here on Sunday. And who better to get back on track against than the Denver Broncos? James, awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate your time.
No problem.
All right, great stuff there from James. We just got the inactives for today's game, but before we get to those, I briefly want to talk about playoff clinching scenarios, because that's always fun, right? This is the best time of year, scoreboard watching and seeing what the Chiefs have to do to make the postseason, and it's quite simple for the Chiefs here today to lock up a 7th consecutive AFC West title. If the Chiefs win today and the Chargers lose to the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football this evening, the Chiefs will win a 7th consecutive division title. Could be a good night here tonight.
Let's just boil this down. It's not a real tricky matrix here. By the time you put your head on a pillow tonight, Chiefs Kingdom, you could have a 7th consecutive AFC West title, which would be tied for the second most in division dominance in National Football League history. Let that soak in a second. But first things first, take care of this. And so far the election returns, as we watch the big board here, it's been a pretty good day so far for the other big picture for the 1 seed. But you laid it out there. Chiefs can, by the time you go to work tomorrow, you can be a division champion. Yeah, got to take care of business here today, but certainly an amazing time to be a Chiefs fan, right? The opportunity to have 7 consecutive AFC West titles and to lock it up in mid-December. It's pretty exciting. So we'll watch what happens here today and what happens here tonight. But let's jump into the inactives here, because we just got those. For the Chiefs, not too many surprises here. We knew Kadarius Toney was not going to play in this game. He was downgraded to out yesterday with that hamstring injury. This will be his 3rd consecutive game that he's missed. Was in practice this week a bit, so he's getting better, I think. Hopefully we see Kadarius Toney back out there. He's trending there, and so is McCall Hardman. Those are both arrows pointed up. McCall Hardman, of course, still on injured reserve, but he's eligible to come back this upcoming week. So we'll see what happens, but some good news there, hopefully, moving forward. Some good news for today. Joe Thuney is active here today at left guard for the Chiefs. He was questionable coming in with that ankle injury. The last 2 weeks, he was like a last-second game-time decision, right, and didn't play, but he is active here today. So great news having Joe Thuney back. And some housekeeping. Nick Bolton, if you look at practice reports, was limited at times in practice this week with a groin injury. He's good to go. Don't worry about Nick Bolton. He is healthy in this game. Safety Dion Bush missed last week with an elbow injury. He is also good to go, so Dion is back. And defensive tackle Brandon Williams, a 10-year veteran, former Pro Bowler with the Baltimore Ravens. He's appearing in his first game ever with the Chiefs here today. Of course, signed to the practice squad a few weeks ago. So we'll see what Brandon can do. Right of the Missouri Southern Lions, baby.
Yeah,
Joplin.
Big day for him. But the biggest news is Joe Thuney back out there for the Chiefs.
That's awesome. Fantastic. And I would have lost $200, $100 each week to you, because I would have bet Joe was going to play, but they went all the way down to the
He's a tough guy.
Nitty-gritty. He's so tough, and he's going to, if he could play, would play, but they took it down to the final seconds basically to rule him out. I'm excited about Brandon Williams. He was great for the Ravens.
Yeah.
He's a Pro Bowler now in 2018, and for him to fill in and get a rotation piece in that middle, I'm excited about. And then mentioning guys moving up. One thing to watch, though, today, Matt, we haven't talked about, is special teams. A guy like Najee Johnson is getting an opportunity to be a gunner today. The Chiefs have elevated guys off the practice squad really all year long. You can only do that so many times. You're really still under the 2020 COVID rules. And we've moved guys like Marcus Kemp up and Zane Anderson up and on and on, DiCaprio Boodle. So now some other guys are getting the opportunity to step up and make a play, including a guy named Amir Smith-Marset, who was playing earlier this year with the Chicago Bears. He had a 100-yard receiving game for the Vikings last year. He was a draft for the Vikings, a New Jersey guy that played at Iowa, so he's like the new Danon Hughes. But Amir, he wears number 82, if you're watching and listening today. But Amir Smith-Marset will be a new Chief on the field today.
I was going to ask you think Danon's excited about his appearance here today?
Yeah, you just can't have 83 because that's Noah Gray's jersey. But he's got a chance. He's very fast. And so he's kind of bounced around waiting for a shot, but the Vikings thought enough to draft him, and the Bears thought enough to claim him after the Vikings cut him on the last cut after training camp.
Yeah, so we'll see what he can do here today. The Chiefs, for the most part, are getting healthy this time of year, and that's good to see. The Broncos are not, and the Broncos are very banged up. A ton of players on injured reserve, and their injury report today is bad. They're banged up. For one thing, wide receiver Courtland Sutton with a hamstring injury, perhaps their best offensive player. He leads this team in catches and receiving yards. He's played in every game this season. He's out today with that hamstring injury, so that's a huge loss for this offense. It's already struggled this year. Fullback Andrew Beck, he's not going to play here today with a hamstring injury. Another really big one, offensive guard Dalton Reisner, a former K-State Wildcat, with a shoulder and a back injury. He was questionable coming in. He is not going to play here today. Dalton Reisner is inactive.
And Matt, that's big. That's the fourth of the 5 starting offensive linemen that started the year that are gone. And Reisner will probably be back. He's a tough kid. People remember him. He's all Big 12 at K-State. I think he's a future Pro Bowler. But for him to go, that gave them something they could anchor at that left guard. He's out of there. So the defense for the Chiefs need to dominate these guys.
Yeah, just a huge, huge loss. For an offensive line that's already struggled all season long and been banged up all season, to lose maybe their best player that's still out there is a big deal. He's played every offensive snap for them this season, so no Dalton Reisner is a very big deal. Defensive tackle DJ Jones had a shoulder injury coming in. He was questionable entering this game, popped up on the injury report on Thursday. Looks like he is active today. He's going to give it a go. He plays a lot of snaps on their defensive lines. We'll see how effective DJ Jones can be, but overall, this offense is very banged up for the Broncos and even more banged up here today.
So again, and I think commanding field position as well. That's on special teams. Even if the defense of the Broncos stops the Chiefs, get enough move and shift the field, especially early, and then just command field position. Put the Broncos in some tough spots early and let the defense eat. This is a day the defense should eat like your Thanksgiving or holiday or Christmas meal.
Now, we'll close with this. I've said this over and over again. We've talked about all the struggles for the Broncos this year, right? And those are true, but this still will be a battle here today. Divisional games always are. Sometimes the most dangerous teams are the ones that have nothing to lose, right? And that's the Broncos this season. But it's also a great opportunity for the Chiefs to get back on track here today after a tough loss last week against the Bengals. And hopefully, if all goes right here today, tonight when we go to sleep, we're talking about a 7th consecutive division title. For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory.